the most compelling protagonist of all time.
Lelouch v. Britannia. Easily one of the most intriguing, well put together, and thought out characters I have probably encountered in the past 6 months.
I think the guy's a bitch.
I'd heard plenty
but
of
it's a great
compliments
character.
and praises of Lelouch, very much the comparisons to a character like Light from Death Note, and so the expectations were relatively high.
I like Lelouch better.
However, I did not expect the entire series to be put on this man's shoulders and ran with. Now, don't get me wrong, there are great characters like C2, Callan, and Suzaku.
Yeah, C2 is the best character of all time. Everybody knows why.
It's fine. However, I don't think this series has a duo concept as strong as
I don't remember this guy, but
yes,
he's not memorable
with its Light and L. This series is pretty much the Lelouch show, and I love it because it's more in Code Geass than just Lelouch outsmarting everybody.
My favorite is the girl in the wheelchair,
where he himself has to take defeat and grow from it. He has to learn a lot of concepts that you see with other characters that are associated with strong ambition. Learning that in order to create change and order, one is going to have to get their hands dirty. But I think the best way I can really prompt this video more...
That's the point, man. I don't want to get my hands dirty, man.
So is talking about
people to
the
do
very
this to
first time we see Lelouch. So he plays a game of
oh my god, this guy.
chess, and his first move is moving the king. Essentially with the philosophy that how can others follow if the king doesn't make the first move?
Yes,
and
of
it's a very
course.
subtle detail that caught my interest a few hours after finishing the series, and it popped up randomly into my head. And I think it connects beautifully and perfectly.
I have to say it's a good anime. I like this anime. The problem is this school. I don't know
with
why.
Lelouch's entire theme as a character up until the brilliant ending of Code Geass. So pay attention to that as I'll kind of bring it back near the end of the video and tie it all together. But the interesting thing to me when observing Lelouch is he tries his best to always keep this composure, as he understands it is important to have a poker face, considering that he's a suspect of someone who's basically running up on an entire kingdom, and in order to do so you have to have a kind of composure to yourself despite the young age that Lelouch does have.
Yeah, you need to act like a king. I do this all the time, man. When I talk to everybody, I talk with authority.
It's very clear that his emotions,
sometimes I punch them so they can understand who's in charge,
and that his hatred is strong. More so we learn about his backstory, the more so we learn about his hatred against his father, and how he really hates the entire royal system despite coming from the royal family himself. And it's clear and understandable to see his resentment.
I don't hate anything like that, man. I think if I was a royal man,
supposed death of
I
his
would
mother,
sleep all day,
and with the crippling of his younger sister Nunnally.
And I do that, and I'm not a royal.
Who he essentially does a lot of this for. It's more so than just actually his hate and his vengeance, but it's also this new desire to protect those he cares about. And I love this multifaceted demeanor from Lelouch. You see how brutal and vicious and cruel he can be towards his enemies, but just how kind and human he can feel around the people he loves. So going on, he creates this persona of Zero, the exactor of justice, the one who will stand up for the Japanese people. And I think that was a way for Lelouch to kind of create a symbol and someone who can truly embody strength and courage for the Japanese people.
Oh, it's very cute, man. This is life. When you're very sad and your girlfriend's hugging you and say, "Come on, don't be sad," and you say, "Shut up, I'm making a plan."
Him understanding that as a Britannian, it probably wouldn't come off well, and it wouldn't be smart for him to kind of throw himself and his identity out there, or at least not yet.
No.
And continuing on with this now persona of Zero, Lelouch really starts to understand and kind of learn lessons in sacrifice and loss, and again what it truly means to now become a leader of an entire revolutionary movement and what is necessary to create world change. I think some of my favorite moments in Code Geass is where you see Lelouch sitting by himself with a more depressed look than he usually ever has, and he questions to himself whether what he's doing is right.
And this guy's such an edgy character. I'm looking at this guy and I'm thinking all the time, come on, bro. This is the 2000s, the best design you can see about 2000. If you want to understand 2000s anime, it's this.
Should have quit. Maybe he should stop now and just live in peace now that Nunnally will be okay. And to see this resolve that he has to come up with or at times be pushed for, where he continues on with his
C2, let me work.
His journey and path is nothing but commendable. I think the losses Lelouch takes and those scenes in and of themselves matter so much and just show the vast maturity Lelouch is able to have to understand that his normal life was never a thing. It was always a farce. And it's interesting.
Yes, man. I have to say, every normal life is a farce because I think it's all a farce.
Interesting because that's how season 2 starts, with Lelouch losing his memory, and upon losing his memory and then regaining it, realizes, yeah, this normal life I had, I've never.
It's boring as fuck. It's better to be the Chad, the emperor who rules the world. That's what I wanna be.
Always been alive.
That's
before
how
and after I lost my memory, and even now regaining it and seeing.
Oh no, my favorite tree is looking at the ocean. Oh my god, my favorite tree.
How he lost Yuffie in the first season due to an error.
I think it was a corpse.
A mistake. And the bloodshed that was on his hands. I think that was a tough realization for him. And then just to make matters worse, again in season 2, ends up losing Shirley and Rollo. And so these
Who cares about
moments
Shirley
is where
and Rollo?
I think Lelouch,
I can lose them 4 times. Lelouch doesn't care about them.
Lelouch kind of understands that he has to be more than a king. He has to be more
the super king, the king of kings,
than just a symbol of strength and freedom. But he has to be a sacrifice himself. And so this is where I kind of want to throw in another aspect to Lelouch that is important because it's mirrored by his contrast. His slightly frustrating to observe on screen contrast, although I do appreciate his character, Suzaku. I think
Suzaku is a good character. I like him. I think
mentality
it's nice.
You have to change the system from within. Trying to change it by force from the outside using acts of terrorism and violence will achieve nothing. And Lelouch is like, well, how are you going to change it from within? How is that going to be possible? Nah, bro, you gotta run up the whole system and flip it on its head. And essentially, like a game of chess.
I think I know what Lelouch did in the end. So I imagine if everything got worse and all his effort was for nothing. That would be so fucking bad.
Move your opponent's pieces off of the board one by one until checkmate and you win. And I think there's ironically a bit of truth to both of them. As the system in Code Geass, Britannia's reign over Japan, you see kind of be destroyed from not only Lelouch on the outside, but also from some of the forces from within. Not only Suzaku, mind you, but also some of the previous foes that Lelouch had already taken care of. And so it's interesting to see these two constantly clash over ideals, which those two ideals are ironically, I think, ones that fuse to create the ending of Code Geass, which is really perplexing when you think about it in a bit. The entire conflict throughout the entire series simply just could have been put together and, well, we got what we got. But Suzaku, I think, was very blinded also at moments by his rage and the death of Yuffie.
That's the problem, man. He has a lot of emotion. He's a guy with very emotions, a lot of emotions. And one thing I learned in my life, don't have emotions. Be a psychopath. Kill your heart, kill your spirit, and have no soul and be cold like Zero.
Without like understanding Lelouch. That Lelouch, he hated himself for that. I think
I said in an Italian version, Lelouch.
Regret and despise Lelouch had for that incident is very obvious. But yet if you notice, Lelouch never explains himself, which is always very interesting to me about his character. He never feels the need to explain himself or to clear up any misunderstandings. He's like, yes, okay, if you think of me that way and you think this is what happened, I'll let you think that's what happened. I'll take the burden of it. And I think that's kind of Lelouch's entire way of redemption throughout the entire series, and even more so in the ending, where he says to himself, okay, there's been a lot of bloodshed under my name. I'll take the burden, and I'll even accept what people think ill of me, if that's what's necessary to bring about change. And this is where we all kind of culminate everything to the ending and bring it back to the beginning. Lelouch,
I want to see the ending again because I watched this. I watched this anime like 10 years ago.
First,
more
with the ending of Code Geass, it is with Lelouch telling Suzaku to take the mantle of Zero and to kill, well, him, and to kind of see how Lelouch started the new world change, brought peace to the world by getting rid of the king, is ironic to me, considering the very first move he makes in Code Geass is moving the king piece.
I don't think he fixed anything, to be honest. Oh my god, what a frame. What a perfect frame.
I think it all ties together with Lelouch's goal, with Lelouch's ambition.
I think he didn't fix anything, to be honest.
With Lelouch's regrets and the reality of, I'm going to have to...
But I love this character. He's a fucking great character.
Take all the burden and hatred of the world onto myself to remove myself from the picture. It's a very savior, messiah-like move from a character like Lelouch. And it all happens despite everything that he goes through throughout the entire series. The death of his loved ones, the realization of his mother and father's plan, feeling betrayed constantly left and right. He sticks to his ideal to the end to bring about true change. And I think that's...
Wait. I think he survived.
Truly the compelling aspect and the beauty of Lelouch throughout Code Geass, and pretty much why he has
I think there's an ending scene, and he's alive there.
Pull and strength.
I think
you see him as Lelouch v Britannia, the fallen prince. You see him as
he
Lelouch, the normal
here.
high schooler. You see him as Zero, the terrorist rebel.
No, I think
and finally
he died.
you see him as King Lelouch.
No, I think he was very dead. I think he was very... I can assume he was dead, I think.
Sacrifice to bring about a better world. But yeah, I don't want to extend this too long. I don't really have much else to say. Kind of went at this unscripted. Hopefully you enjoyed it though. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you
Yes, it's a great channel, this one. Okay, it's a very famous channel. I didn't know it.